Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and Education Secretary Ryan Stewart are sticking to the back to school pledge the governor made in her State of the State address last month. Joining us to talk about back to school again in the week's other headlines is our Line Opinion panel. Line regular and UNM law professor Serge Martinez is back. Good to see you, sir. Another regular and former House Minority Whip Daniel Foley returns for another go. And we're very happy to have as our guest this week former Lieutenant Governor Dianne Deneuve. Thanks for joining us as well to offer your thoughts. Now, Republicans have been calling for a full return to in-person learning for a while. We'll only have 5 or 6 weeks of school in the current school year. Is that better than nothing, Daniel? Or is this just, I don't know, too late to make a big difference in your view?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's clearly going to be too late for high school seniors. I mean, just, and that's
Good point.
It's not anybody's fault, right? It's just the pandemic, the way things are. I mean, telling some high school senior, hey, congratulations, you're going to get a month of high school to do all the homecoming and prom and all those magical moments that every one of us remember about our high school senior year. Yeah, it's too late. If you're in 5th grade, it's not too late. So, but again, I don't think that's an indictment on any individual. That's just the system the way it is, right? I mean, I get it. It's been a tough year, a little over a year, and it had these kids have not gotten a fair shake from this, and so I think getting them back at any point is going to be getting them any sense of normalcy is going to help. I mean, we cannot ignore the suicide rate and the other issues that are present amongst these young people during this time. So I think any resemblance of normalcy, and I think schools are working really hard diligently. I think the governor is, I think the legislature is, I think school boards are, to try to get as much of this reality back for these kids as they possibly can while still keeping people safe. The one negative thing I will say is that, to me, the frustration that I watch from the outside, if I was a parent with a kid, in high school or lower, there just seems to be an inconsistency, right? It's, we got to wear a mask. We don't got to wear a mask. We got to be 6 feet apart, got to be 12 feet apart, got to get a shot, can't get a shot. Once you get it, once you have it, you're good for 3 months. You're not contagious. So, I mean, there's just this whole process that I think everybody's trying to figure out as we go through this, that I do think that some of the folks, that we've turned to say, follow the science, I think on some levels they've dropped the ball for us in hindsight. But hindsight's always 2020.
It's a difficulty. This thing was so fast moving, no doubt. Lieutenant Governor, interesting, when I think about this, how much of where the governor's going on this is being driven by what the Biden administration has really sort of laid out there when you think about it? They have their goals. Is the governor just lining up with the federal goals here?
I think that she's trying to comply with the Biden administration's directives of getting kids back in school. I agree with Dan. I think something is better than nothing, especially for older teenage kids who really need that social context. Having a granddaughter who's going to graduate in May, I think going back to school for her in Oklahoma in February was a big deal. But I will say this, one thing our governor has done right about this is they haven't gone back and forth. Many states opened, had to close, opened, had to close while the pandemic, and now that the numbers are really on the downturn, there's vaccinations coming in great numbers. New Mexico leads the vaccination rate across the country. All of those things are coming together at a good time to reopen our schools. But I do think there is a willingness to comply and follow the national directive.
Yeah. Serge, the Lieutenant Governor mentioned the word vaccination. We got to go there. This is a big part of this return, so to speak, for teachers. Boy, Shelby Perea and Colleen Heald in the Journal a little bit ago noted that New Mexico isn't getting extra doses. And, can we possibly get all teachers vaccinated by April 5th? Is this possible?
I don't know the actual numbers. It seems like a big task and one that, should have been prioritized a while back. I've been frustrated by the messaging as well as sort of the policy, some incoherency or inconsistency, I should say, saying, we want to get folks back in school, but we're not going to prioritize the teachers' vaccines, is not only sending mixed messages, it's making it harder to accomplish, this really important goal of getting students, teachers, families, everyone comfortable with being back in school. I again, I don't know the actual numbers. I know that the vaccine rollout has been proceeding apace, and hopefully that will give everyone the comfort they need to get open by April 5th. But I'm impressed with what New Mexico has done thus far. But
Should we have slid up the vaccination for teachers in the calendar a little bit earlier? Maybe even 2 weeks would have made a big difference when you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think if the goal has been, and we had our eyes on getting folks back into school and getting this open, right, which is an unalloyed good thing, I think we really should have been prioritizing that in the vaccine rollout and had a consistent message and policy about that.
Right. It's just a reminder, of course, as I mentioned in the setup, the governor mentioned this in her State of the State. So that was in January. It wasn't as if, it was just the day before yesterday. But Daniel, I'm interested in your thought on this too. A lot of this depends on where families decide to kind of fall on this, meaning, there remains the fully remote option. And for a lot of families, they're just not trusting what's going to happen out there. So if a large number of families decide to stay remote, what does that do to the equation?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting scenario. We in my real life, we work with a lot of public schools and some private schools, and it's been both challenging and an opportunity, right? I mean, I had a conversation with one of my private schools that we represent in Albuquerque, who was saying, their student population has boomed, and it's boomed because they've been able to really master this remote learning, and a lot of these kids don't want to come to school. They don't want to travel, and they're thinking that this is a model that they can now replicate around New Mexico without having to build a building. If you want to get an education from one of these schools, if you want to go to Sandia Prep or Albuquerque Academy and you live in Roswell, this remote learning has really enhanced the opportunity to be able to do that.
I hadn't thought about that.
So it's also been able to they've also been able to manage knowing which kids are coming on what day and how they're going to do it. I would venture to say that we're forever going to be in a hybrid model. I think, especially with older kids going forward, which isn't really odd, right? I mean, I remember talking to my parents, and my parents, from the time they were, obviously they're both passed away and they're both be well into their 80s today. But, my dad and mom used to talk about, from their sophomore year in high school, they went to school until noon, and then they were done at noon, and they had a job because you had to get a job and you had to get the family. And, not only that, at the time my mom went to school, there were, 11,000 kids in her class, literally, because it was the only school in Brooklyn. And so you had 4 different, kids went from 6 to 10 and 11 to 3 and 3 to 7. And, they did all of that. And, I don't think our country was that bad. I think it's really highlighting the conversation that we've been failing on in this country, which is not everybody's going to college and vocational education and getting people out in the work. So I think there are some opportunities for successes to rise out of this to be helpful. But I do think that there's going to be a number of people. There's always been a number of people that want to homeschool. Right. And I think they've been able to seize on this opportunity and get resources, which I don't think is a bad thing. But I think there's a lot of people, I know a lot of people I've talked to who have said, I don't know if my kid is fit to go back 5 days a week, 7 hours a day and do all of that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how we maximize this moving forward.
And I'll throw back in your previous lap of the balance about how we keep kids mentally stable, with social interaction, all that kind of thing too. Lieutenant Governor, I mentioned the state address, of course, but another angle of that from the governor was on vaccinations is that teachers, the unions specifically, were on board at that time and that things were plowing forward. In fact, Santa Fe has an agreement in place that teachers don't have to go back until they're vaccinated. I find this sort of interesting, and I'm interested in where you're at on this with unions. Where should teachers be on this right now?
Well, I think that's an interesting concept. I think the governor of California said at one point, he said that, if you're waiting till 100% of teachers are vaccinated, then we're never going to open up because there's going to be a certain segment of teachers who are not going to be able to be vaccinated. And there's going to be a certain segment of teachers who choose not to be vaccinated. And I don't think the union can satisfy all those interests. I think going back on April 5th is going to be a test for teachers, and a difficult one, of whether they can do a combined hybrid in-person learning. If you've read some of the things that are happening with that, it's a very difficult model if they're trying to combine that in one classroom or one subject matter. It makes it much harder. and paying attention to kids that are there in person and the kids that are on their Zoom link. I think it's going to be tough, but I think that, frankly, I think the unions have to be negotiating on this and get ready for it.
Right.
I would say about the earlier model of educating really much earlier, vaccinating educators earlier, that no one else was vaccinated. So even if they were getting their vaccinations way back at the beginning, parents weren't being vaccinated, grandparents weren't being vaccinated, the virus was still out there. And as you learn when you get vaccinated, like I've been, that doesn't mean you can't get it. It just means you may not die from it, and you're not going to maybe not have to be hospitalized. But it doesn't mean you're not going to get the virus.
That's a good
And
point
Gene,
there.
on a national level, Gene, I think the interesting thing is I'm hearing talk of folks driving to Amarillo to get the shot.
Oh, sure.
Because
Yep.
drive
From New
up,
Mexico. That's right.
There's no list, right? There's no, hey,
That's right. It's everyone 65 or older in Texas.
Yeah,
That's
apparently in
right.
Texas, they've got an abundance of shots.
I have experience with that. Someone who went and they asked why, and the Amarillo people said we were forced to open it up because we don't have enough people in Texas who are willing to get the vaccine.
Oh, wow.
And so they were going to waste their doses.
Yeah.
So they've invited people from all the surrounding states, and their parking lots apparently are full of New Mexico license plates.
Wow.
But you
Interesting
don't
point
have an
there.
age limit. You don't have an age limit or any
That's right.
underlying risk factor.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, the schools saga continues, but we're out of time for now with this group. Back in a few minutes, though, to talk about broadband service and whether a new cohesive plan is ahead on that issue for New Mexico.